something I think that's important to mention. It's when clients call to want to retain our law firm when they're under investigation. And if you are a service member, you're under investigation, you've done your research about me, you want me and my law firm to represent you, then retain us when you can. What I mean by that is, if you're under investigation, don't wait until you have charges preferred against you, because I may not have any availability. There were literally 45 different potential clients, give or take 2 or 3, that called my law firm and wanted to do a consultation, but I just wasn't able to do it because I'm knee deep in another service member's trial. And if I'm in the middle of trial, I can't dedicate the time to your particular case. And so what I say is, if you want me to, because things happen at the worst time. So when you retain us while you're under investigation, one of the biggest things that you do, not only are you protecting your rights, not only are you making sure you're not going to get run over by OSI, CID, NCIS, not only are we going to make sure that you don't get screwed in the process of while you're under investigation, but it's really important to understand that you're guaranteeing my availability, because things happen at the worst time. We had 2 clients where during that 7-week trip, they had retained us while they were under investigation. They had charges preferred against them during that time frame. Well, I am their attorney already. And so once charges were preferred, we were able to work with them and get the case, work their case while I'm traveling. And so it was not as I was taking on a new case, it was just their case went to the next step, and I had my, availability guaranteed. So once that happened, we were able to push out the Article 32 hearings to work with our schedule. So those clients that had retained us a year back, now that they had charges preferred against them, we are their attorney. Now we're back on deck essentially in Tampa. We're working through their case. Those people that retained us early under the investigation, we're representing them now, and they have us for their trial, where there were literally 45 other service members who I just wasn't able to get back to, or I had to refer out to someone else who didn't have the benefit of having us for trial, because if they needed me right away, I just wasn't able to, I don't have the bandwidth for that. And our law firm is a bit different than a lot of other law firms. If I don't have the bandwidth, or if I'm knee deep in another case, I'm not going to take on cases just so I can, make more money and not be able to work your case. If I don't have the ability to take on a new client, I'm not going to take your case, because if you're retaining me, you're retaining me to win. You're retaining me to do everything within my power and within the rules of professional responsibility to win your case. And if I'm in the middle of a 3-week trial and you have a GOMAR that's due next week, or if you have a rebuttal that's due next week, there's just no way in hell I'm going to be able to write that if I'm in the middle of the trial. And if I did, I'm either screwing over my current client, or I'm screwing you over, because I'm not giving the time it needs, because there are only 24 hours in the day. And if you're working 15-hour days in the middle of a trial, there is absolutely no time to do a rebuttal or to prep for a 32. And so be very cautious of attorneys who will take on every case that's humanly possible and give you these bottom feeder, low dollar cost fees, because they're not going to answer their phone, or they're not going to give you the time of day. And if they're taking your phone call and doing a case consultation when they're in the middle of a trial, when it becomes time for your trial and you need them focused on your cross-examination of the alleged victim, or on the closing argument, or whatever you need to be focused on at trial, and they're walking out on the recesses, jumping on their phone and doing consultations to try to make a buck, that is how people end up going to prison. And so it's real important, again, that if you've done your research, you want my law firm to represent you and you're under investigation, go ahead and retain us, because you are, again, not only guaranteeing my availability, you're guaranteeing also that you're not going to get screwed over during the process. But things, again, happen at the worst possible time. And what will happen is, say, I'll just wait till I get charged and see what happens. Well, 6 months or a year down the road, when you get charged, I'll probably be in Korea in trial, and I might not have availability. And if you wanted me to represent you, I just might not be able to. I may be able to, but I might not. And so that's a real important distinction, and something I try to emphasize when I do these consultation calls with individuals who are under investigation or at the early stages of their investigation, or maybe they're not pending charges yet. If you're under investigation under the UCMJ, stop talking to all of your friends about it and start talking to a lawyer about it. You can call me at 813-669-3500 or look us up at bileckilawgroup.com.